What is up, everybody? What is going on? This is Anthony with VR 365. It is 8 p.m. on the dot here in California. It is March 22nd. It is Friday. So this is what we call Friday Night Hype. That's what it's all about, folks. Friday Night Hype. And the good news is next Friday, we're not going to have Friday Night Hype because the show will be starting at 2 p.m. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week, our show is going to be starting at 2 p.m. So that is really good news for the UK audience that is completely absent, and they have to watch this basically tomorrow morning is when they're going to be watching this. And then the good news is tomorrow, our episode tomorrow is at noon Pacific time. And then our episode on Sunday will be about 15 minutes after the conclusion of VR Roundtable. That is going to be a freaking marathon day for me on Sunday morning because I know VR Roundtable is going to be a crazy long episode. Hopefully, I don't know if Gary wants to host again, but if he wants to host or if Gary can host, that would be great. So I can save my voice a little bit and then also be able to do this show after that is over with. So that will be on Sunday. Monday and Tuesday, I might be able to do the show at, say, 4:30 p.m. 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. So that might be kind of like a spur of the moment kind of thing, but maybe 4:30 p.m. Monday and Tuesday. But anyway, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. And the title of our episode today is The Rift S Drama Continues. Hate it or love it, this is fun. And that's really what I got to say about this is like, there's a lot of people getting their panties in a bunch over all this stuff. And I just want to say, look, ultimately, guys, what is this all about? Like, this is video gaming. Remember what we're doing here, folks. Remember what we're doing here. This is video gaming. This is supposed to be fun. You know, this is supposed to be happy. This is supposed to be cheerful. So we don't need to stress out and think about negative things and like worry about everything that's going on. You know, let's chill. Let's relax. Let's see what's going to happen here. Let's figure all of this out. And we don't need to cry about everything. So, you know, just wanted to start off with that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the show here. And right now on the trailer, you guys might notice that this, of course, is Nintendo Labo VR. And I have not seen this trailer, guys. I just downloaded this trailer like maybe 7 minutes ago. And I was like, oh yeah, I should probably grab that new Nintendo Labo trailer. And, you know, I can have that on the background. Maybe we could talk about that for a minute. And one other thing I'll say is that this entire week has been very chaotic and hectic for me, primarily because I've returned back to my normal day job situation, although it's still kind of in flux as far as that goes. And luckily, my hours are being cut back a little bit next week, which will help out for the schedule of the show. But with GDC, with going back to my job and just a million things happening all at once, and then I still got a family, I still got a wife, I still got kids, and so it's been very hectic. But you know what? This is VR 365, and we break it down 365 days a year, except for about 18 days where we may have missed. But, you know, for the most part, we are here. Look at all those VR games. You know, this actually, I gotta say, folks, that this Nintendo Labo, see, I don't have a Switch. I don't have a Nintendo Switch, right? But I'm tempted to try to get my hands on this Nintendo Labo thing. I know some people that do have a Switch and maybe like borrow it. I just want to check this out. Like the trailer actually makes it look kind of decent. I'm wondering if you actually look in a Switch though, are your eyes just going to be destroyed within a matter of minutes? I don't know, but it's curious. It's very interesting. It's curious. It's totally trippy. This is super, super weird. Nintendo is very weird. You gotta love them for that, don't you? Okay, so here's the deal, guys. So Sponge 720 is, what is your new job? So I work for the state of California. I've been employed with the state of California for a very long time. I have a very boring office job that is not a high-end kind of a job. It's kind of a low-level office job. And I was basically furloughed for an incredibly long time. And I thought maybe I was never going back. And then they called us back in. So that's kind of what's going on as far as that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into some topics. We might as well get into some topics. And what I wanted to start out with today is I wanted to start out with some of the comments that were going on in chat during yesterday's episode that I didn't get to. I didn't see some of these comments when they were happening live. And there were so many good comments, and I wanted to highlight some of them. So what I did was I grabbed a video. I grabbed that video, and then I tried to make a screenshot of the video and then copy out the comment. And so I'm about to throw it on this screen here. It's probably going to look god awful, but I should be able to read it. It's going to look very blurry, but we'll go ahead and work with that. But I wanted to kind of do a little feedback before we kind of got started today. So let me go ahead and grab the very first comment that I have here, and let's go ahead and get it started. So Andy Sky, I've got a comment from Andy Sky. And so, yeah, this was grabbed from chat, a screenshot from chat, and then I blew it up. And so it's probably not going to look very good for you guys, but I'm going to go ahead and read this. So this is Andy Sky. This was yesterday, during our show yesterday. And he says, Stormland will be last Oculus big title game because they're only going to focus with Quest because they don't have a competitor like Steam Library. Okay, and so basically what Andy Sky, I'm sure he probably typed this really fast and was just kind of it's reading comprehension, you know what I mean? But I'm sure he was typing this really fast, scrambling like that. Now, what he's basically saying here is that he believes that Oculus is moving away from a focus on the Rift and Rift S, and that they're going to be focusing more on the Quest, because on the Quest, they don't have any competitors, really. They have no direct competition at this current point in time with the Oculus Quest, and Stormland is going to be the last big Oculus game. Now, there's some truth to this comment, but there's also not some truth to this comment because, first of all, Stormland is not the last big Oculus game because Stormland was announced a long, long time ago, and we've already heard about Asgard's Wrath. We know that Respawn has a game. We got Defector. There's going to be some more games that are announced. Now, what I will say, though, as far as Andy Sky and what he's talking about here, you guys remember I don't know how many years ago it was when Zuckerberg was up on stage and he was talking about, we have $250 million that has been earmarked for this and that. And, obviously 10 million of that went to Epic Games for Robo Recall. And a lot of it went to Insomniac for stuff like Stormland and some of the stuff that they've done. And then you think about all the other Oculus exclusives, Brass Tactics, all the different Oculus exclusives over the years. So they've used a lot of that money. And I don't know how much of that money is floating around. And they probably are going to use a lot more of that money towards Oculus Quest because the Oculus Quest is their focus. So anyway, I thought it was an interesting comment from Andy Sky, and that was one of the few comments that I grabbed. Okay, let's go to the next one. There were so many great comments, and I was scrambling to find them before this show, and I just didn't have enough time. Okay, Chris Richardson. I thought this was a really interesting comment right here. Chris Richardson, this is very early on in the show yesterday. He says, I think the price of the Oculus Rift S is meant to protect the launch of the Quest. It will drop soon enough. And I thought That's actually an interesting idea. That's an interesting thought process there by Chris Richardson, thinking that, they don't, like, let's say Oculus really does have a plan to get the Oculus Rift S down to $299.99. They might not want to do that right away, not when they have their most important product in the history of Oculus. Really, I mean, let's be honest, the Oculus Quest is the most important product in the history of Oculus, and I truly believe this. And it's major important, and the launch of the Quest is incredibly important. And this is a possibility. This is something that could possibly be happening here. If they make the Rift S so incredibly attractive, it could be a little bit problematic in the very early days of Quest also being available. And so maybe it's kind of a protection plan. They're protecting the launch of the Quest, almost maybe making the Quest look better and better in comparison to the Rift S, because there are a lot of hardcore Oculus people that are trying to make the decision between these two products, and they might be skewing a little more to the Quest. Interesting idea there by Chris Richardson. I did want to highlight that. Okay, I've got a couple more comments here. John Crowe has a pretty good comment here. So John Crowe, here's what he had to say yesterday. I think they're so deep into working on Quest, which is unquestionably the future, they just wanted a stopgap product for Rift users, but didn't have the resources to devote to it. And this is actually a pretty interesting comment, because you guys might remember what I was talking about yesterday. Yesterday, I was reading the comments of Nate Mitchell, where Nate Mitchell was like, yeah, we're so excited to work, we were excited to work with Lenovo. It's really fun. They've got a lot of expertise. And I was like, what are you talking about? Oculus has 10 to the nth power engineers that know about VR much more than Lenovo knows about VR. And I just didn't get that whole, I still don't quite get the whole Lenovo thing, but this is an interesting spin on the idea. The spin here is that the Quest really is the focus, and maybe this was kind of a last minute scramble, and maybe Lenovo was there for them in a pinch to kind of come out with this last minute product. It's an interesting idea that maybe this is kind of just a stopgap product, just to kind of bridge us from the original Oculus Rift and bridge us to their future legit product, which is not going to be ready for a while, but this is a stopgap option. It's a possibility. It's an interesting idea from John Crowe. So I did want to highlight that one as well. Okay, let's see here. What other, I think I got maybe 2 more comments, and we'll be done with these little comments here. Okay, so here is Prince Alexander. I probably should have scaled that one out a little bit bigger. It's very small right there. But Prince Alexander, his question was, which venue could Valve use to announce VR tech this year? And my response to this is Valve is not going to use any venue. This is not the way Valve operates. Go all the way back to the original unveiling of the HTC Vive and all that stuff that happened way back in the days. And what happened way back then is that a lot of media types, and you know what, I gotta say, I hope one day I get invited to some of these things. I mean, I'm a small fry, I know that, but I still want to dream. I want to dream that one day I'm going to get an email from Valve or Oculus and be able to go to some of these private events. But, that's a dream, but maybe in the future, right? But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that when Valve is going to drop their bomb, we're going to know about it. We're not going to know exactly about it, but we're going to hear that Valve is having some kind of event, and they're inviting a lot of press up to Seattle, the Seattle area. And Valve is having an event, and it's probably going to be over a weekend, and it's going to be embargoed to a certain day, and and tested, and Upload VR, and Road to VR, and Verge, and Engadget, and everybody basically is going to go up there and they're going to get their hands on what Valve is doing. So Valve is not going to piggyback to anybody else's venue. They don't need to do that. That's not their MO. That's not their style. But that's basically what Prince Alexander's talking about right there. Okay, and then the last comment, this one is just more of a fun comment that I saw, and it made me laugh and smile. And so I just wanted to mention this one really quick. So Ray Delatorre, I was talking about how when I was at GDC, MRTV, Sebastian was there. We did a little quick video together, and we had a wonderful time. It was really cool. It was very brief. We were hardly with each other at all, but it was really fun. We had a great time, right? And Ray Delatorre says, you and Sebastian were awesome. You guys were like Pat Summerall and John Madden. You being John Madden, LOL. Basically talking like I was John Madden, he was Pat Summerall. And that really made me laugh. And I got a real kick out of this. I like this, Ray Delatorre. You know what I would say though? I would say that Sebastian is not Pat Summerall. He is more, what's the other guy? Al Michaels. Like Al Michaels was working with John Madden when John Madden went to Monday Night Football. You know, it was Al Michaels and John Madden. So I'd say Sebastian is a little more Al Michaels to my John Madden. But I did like that comment. That was really cool. Okay, now let's go ahead and get into the actual meat of the discussion here. And let's see, I'm going to throw on a trailer in the background, some Asgard's Wrath footage that recently came out, some gameplay footage. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that on the background there. And then what we're going to do is I have a few little topics that I wanted to get into. We do have a lot of people in chat that are hitting us. We have some people in chat that are posting a lot of information right now, and we're going to get into all that in just a second, but I wanted to get into let me get some of the topics that I have lined up. Okay, so here's the first topic I want to get into. And one of the things I want to say is that we need to calm down, everybody, because you know what? We have to take all of these impressions that have come out about the Rift S and even the Quest as well. We got to take a lot of these impressions with a huge grain of salt, okay? Because I did a post on the Oculus subreddit, which was linking to my video yesterday, and a lot of people were asking questions like, oh, okay, how were the black levels? You know, what was the SD? What was the screen door effect like? What were the colors muted? You know, all these different questions that people were asking. And the thing that I got to say is, like, those of us that were at GDC and that we got these demos, it's almost impossible to be able to answer those questions unless you went into each individual demo with that as your primary focus. And what I mean here is, for example, let's say I'm waiting in line for 2.5 hours, okay? Waiting in line for 2.5 hours to play Stormland on the Oculus Rift S. And if I went into that demo with the idea that, okay, when I get into this demo, all I'm going to be looking for is the black levels. You know, I'm going to be looking at all of the dark segments that I see everywhere, and I'm going to be looking for the blacks, and I'm going to look and see how gray they are. And I didn't do that. And I don't know that I don't know how many, I don't even know if like Sebastian did that. You're thinking of so many things. You're playing like a 7-8 minute demo, and you're not going to know all these answers. You're not going to know all these answers off a 7 or 8 minute demo. It's just not going to happen. And so that's one of the things I want to say is like, even my impressions, take them with a grain of salt, because I tried the Oculus Rift S 2 times. I tried it 2 times. I had 10 minutes with Dead and Buried 2, and I had 10 minutes with Stormland. And that's it. I had 2 demos. That was it. And going into both of these demos, I wasn't specifically trying to judge the FOV and trying to judge whether colors were popping or not, and trying to judge screen door and trying to judge this and trying to judge that. I would, and trying to, think about how my IPD is so big and is that a major problem and all of that. I wasn't thinking of all of those things. At the same time, I'm also thinking of like freaking Stormland, and I'm thinking of Dead and Buried 2, and there's a lot of noise and commotion that's going on around you, and you can barely hear the sound and everything. And basically what I'm trying to say is, like, honestly, you would need to have the Rift S. Like, I would need to have the Rift S for an entire day to really, really, truly be able to answer all of these questions. Because what I would have to do is I'd have to take the Rift S and I would have to say, okay, right now I'm going to judge the God rays. The God rays are going to be my focus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bunch of games on that have a black background with a white title screen that are really bad with God rays, and I'm going to judge them on the Oculus Rift S. And at the same time that I'm doing that, I might want to have my other Rift up in, the regular Oculus Rift up and running at the exact same time, and then pick one up, kind of put it to my head, put it back down, put the other one up to my head to get that A-B comparison. And the other thing I'm going to say too is that even everybody at Tested, like the guys from Tested and Verge and Engadget and, everybody that went to the private Oculus event, like Ben Lang and Road to VR, Upload VR, all those people, right, that went to that private thing. I mean, how much time did they get with the Rift S? Like, did they really get to sit down with it for like 4 hours? I kind of doubt it. They had a lot of media there. It was probably one day. It was probably a certain number of hours. And so even like Ben Lang and the Upload VR guys, I don't even know if they could really judge it in a major, major way. So the one thing I'm trying to say here is, like, we need to really calm down and relax about all these different opinions that everybody's throwing out there, because a lot of these opinions are, people are throwing it at the wall. Now, MRTV, Sebastian, he is in chat, and if we had made this decision like on Tuesday or Wednesday, it would have been a good idea. And maybe MRTV did this. Maybe he can speak to this. If, like, did MRTV, Sebastian, did you go into any demo thinking, I'm going to look at the blacks. I'm going to look at the blacks. I'm going to really just judge the blacks. I'm not going to worry about the fact that I'm playing Vacation Simulator for the first time ever. I'm looking at the blacks. Did he do that? Maybe he did. But we had to wait 2.5 hours to get into these things. So it's kind of difficult. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. Okay, so that's one of the things that I wanted to say. Okay, let me go ahead and switch up this trailer to something else. I'll just throw something else on here. And let's see, why don't I throw on Shadow Point for the Oculus Quest, just some little gameplay footage. We'll just throw that on there in the background for a second here. Okay, so the second topic that I wanted to get to, and this is just something, okay, you guys know that I'm kind of a conspiracy theorist guy. Like, at different times, I've brought up some wild conspiracy theories, and sometimes I go off the deep end a little bit, and I start thinking about, like, these companies have, like, really advanced ideas on how to market things and how to wag the dog. I talk about wag the dog, right? And so one conspiracy theory that I kind of have about this entire Rift S thing is, okay, do you guys remember back when we first found out about potentially there's only a single screen, and we found out about the IPD adjustment and everything, and it was found in some bit of code and all of that? Here's my conspiracy theory, guys. My conspiracy theory is it was a deliberate leak. Okay, this was a deliberate leak by Oculus. They were preparing us for the shit show that happened this week. And it's a damn good thing that they prepared us for it, because imagine if we had no freaking idea. At least we had an idea. We had an idea that the Rift S was going to be a singular screen. We had an idea that the Rift S was not going to have a legitimate IPD adjustment. And I think we had that idea because I think they deliberately leaked that information to prepare us for major disappointment, because they had to know that the hardest of their hardcore was going to be very disappointed with a lot of the things that we found out about Rift S. And so I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. If you've got some really, really, really negative news, why not leak it out as a rumor a month ahead of time, and then you soften that blow. You soften that blow. So anyway, that's my little conspiracy theory. Okay, the next topic I wanted to get to is Oculus fanboys. Okay, so I've noticed this on the Oculus Rift subreddit. I've noticed it in people commenting on my videos or commenting on a post in the subreddit that I made about my video. And I'm sure MRTV, I'm sure Sebastian has noticed this as well. Like, the Oculus fanboys, if you start talking some negative things about anything Oculus related, man, there are some hardcore Oculus fanboys that just will not allow any negativity. They just will not allow it. Like, it is not within the realm of possibility for them that there could be anything negative. It has to be all sunshine and rainbows. So like, I'm telling all the haters to calm down, but I also got to tell the hardest of the hardcore fanboys, you guys need to chill the F out, man. Chill the F out and understand that it's not all going to be sunshine and rainbows. Like, maybe this is a product that simply wasn't designed for us. Like, freaking get over it. It doesn't always have to be the perfect thing. But god damn it, some of these fanboys are just off the chain link fence with like some of the stuff that they're talking about. And so Gaming in Still Life is saying we're all fanboys in some way. Yeah, look, I'm kind of an Oculus fanboy myself. Now, I mean, not a fanboy, but, you know, I'm a fan of Oculus. I'm even a fan of HTC. I'm not a fan of their customer service, but, you know, I'm a fan of a lot of these companies. I'm a fan of Sony. I'm a fan of PlayStation VR. I'm a fan of a lot of this stuff. But, no, actually, Dave B says Haney 555 springs to mind. Well, Haney 555, I think he's been forced to like realize that there's other possibilities. You know, now that he's working for Upload VR, I think he's actually opened his mind up a little bit. But before he worked for Upload VR, yeah, he was probably kind of the poster child for some of this stuff. But yeah, some of these Oculus fanboys, man, they cannot take any negativity. And it's a little bit shocking to me what some of these people are talking about. Okay, so those were basically the topics that I had coming into today. And so now what I wanted to do, though, is I wanted to go to, let's go ahead and go to Upload VR, because there was some information on Upload VR today that I saw that I thought was kind of interesting here. So let's go ahead and bounce over here. And one of the lead stories, guys, and you know what? File this under Nostradamus Jr., baby. File this under Nostradamus Jr. Oculus Rift S passes FCC ahead of spring launch. Original Rift now unavailable in the US. This is an interesting little story right here, because if you guys might remember my prediction, me and MRTV, you know, me and Sebastian, when we did our little thing, I said, hey, here's my prediction, guys. On the first day of PAX East, March 28th, the Rift S is going to be available in stores. You can buy it now, baby. That's my Nostradamus prediction. I'm sticking to it. And you know what? This FCC approval, this is great. The fact that the original Rift is completely unavailable, like, I think everything is lining up, guys. I really think everything is lining up. So I'm sticking to this. It's the 3-year anniversary for the launch of the Oculus Rift. And I really believe that the Rift S is going to be available in a matter of days. In a matter of days, guys. March 28th. The 3-year anniversary. What better way to celebrate the 3-year anniversary than to bring out the Rift S, which, you know, the Rift S is not a complete and utter disaster. I mean, let's not go too hard on it. It's got some issues. I'm almost tempted One other topic I'll mention. One other topic I'll mention about the Rift S is after, chilling out and relaxing and kind of calming down a little bit, one of the things I started thinking, see, the Rift has never been a very comfortable headset for me. And this is something I've talked about before. I don't know if it's the shape of my head or whatever, but one of the things about the original Rift is it kind of squeezes me on the side a little bit. And I've always kind of disliked that about the regular Rift. And one of my problems with the Oculus Rift is after I'm playing it for about 45 minutes, it starts hurting my head. So I can get about 45 minutes of action in with my Oculus Rift, and then it starts becoming a pain in the butt. And the Rift S, man, is comfort city. It really is. It is so freaking comfortable that I am kind of tempted. Like I'm literally kind of tempted to try to grab a Rift S just purely from the comfort factor. I'm still a little worried on the whole IPD thing, but I'm almost a little bit tempted to grab a Rift S in certain ways. But yeah, that was, so let's see. We don't have very long to wait. March 28th is not very far away. So we'll probably see that pretty soon. And just talking a little bit about some more of these stories that are popping up on Road to VR. This is kind of an interesting little headline right here. This headline says, PSVR's Gollum makes surprise return at PAX East 2019. Wait a minute, PAX East is already underway? Because this headline sounds like it's there. It's already there. Shouldn't it say PSVR's Gollum will make a surprise return at PAX East 2019? But it is good news to see that Gollum is alive and well, apparently. So that's good. The other little topic that we might want to mention real quick here too is state of play. Did you guys hear about this? Sony is basically going to be doing like this Nintendo Direct thing. And this is on March 25th, which that's Monday, right? And so I think it's 2 p.m. Pacific time. So this is on Monday. And they're going to have new trailers, new game announcements, new gameplay footage, and we're going to see a number of PlayStation VR games and stuff like that. We might get like Blood and Truce release date, maybe some unknown PlayStation VR games that we've never heard of before. So that's kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to State of Play coming up as well. And Kevgret says, oh, Gollum, this won't end well. Well, they delayed the game for an extra year. Remember, that's Marty O'Donnell's studio. And this is kind of their first big game. And I don't think they're just going to completely shit the bed on their their first game in that new studio. So I don't know. I don't think Gollum is going to be complete and utter disaster. So we'll see what happens there. So some other news is like the pricing. Okay, getting back into the pricing. This was a major discussion. Like a lot of people got really pissed off. This goes back to the Oculus fanboy thing that was kind of going on. Like people commenting on my video and other videos where some of the hardest of the hardcore Oculus fanboys seemed to be really upset that everybody was expecting a much lower price. And they're like, you guys are crazy. What do you think there's going to be a lower price? Like, da, 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 da. And so this kind of goes towards that as well, where one of the things that we did here, and this, of course, was tested, their interview with Nate Mitchell. And one of the things they mentioned is that we might not see price drops on such a regular basis. And so this kind of goes back to Chris Richardson's comment. It goes back to what me and Sebastian were talking about that one day, where me and Sebastian were like, you start high so you can bring it low. But one of the things that some people are wondering is that, and they actually talked about it here in this article, is that when the Oculus Rift dropped from $399 to $349, that maybe that was not really a pricing move. Maybe that was clear the decks, drop the Rift $50 to add a little bit more incentive for fence sitters to grab the original Rift and clear the decks. Get them out of Amazon. Get them out of Best Buy. Get them out of the Oculus warehouses. get rid of all the rifts that they got. So you know what? We might be stuck with this $399 price for a long time. So like me and Sebastian were thinking, okay, yeah, this is just the early adopter tax. They're just taxing all of us early adopters that just have more money than sense, and we just want to buy something right away, and we're so damn impatient and we can't wait around for stuff. And it's the early adopter tax. We've seen it a million times. But based on some of Nate Mitchell's comments, that might not be the case. We might be stuck with this $399 price for quite a long time. You know, it might not drop. There might not be no drop in the price of the Rift S. $399 might be where they want to sit for a long time, you know. And Lethal Weasel VR, he's saying it was clearly $349 to clear stock, you know. And it was something I didn't really think about it, but then when some people brought that up, I was like, you know what? Yeah, actually, that kind of seems realistic. Okay, now the original Catastrophe, a new name that I haven't seen before in chat, says $399 seems right for the Rift S. No surprise for me. And, you know, one of the things I will have to cop to, and maybe Sebastian, like maybe he could cop to this as well, is we get caught up in the bubble. We get caught up in the bubble of the hardest of the hardcore that are on the Oculus Rift subreddit and the HTC Vive subreddit and PSVR subreddit. And we get caught up in kind of the group think. You know, there's a group think. There is the hive mentality. And it's just human nature. You know, it's hard to get away from it. And like when we first started to hear about the singular screen and no IPD and all of that and the race to the bottom, and that's why Brendan Aree bounced and all of these things, there were a lot of people that were jumping in and they're saying, hey, this is just because this thing is going to be like $299. We had people on the subreddit saying it was going to be $199. Like there literally were people on the various subreddits saying it was going to be $199. It was going to be $249.99. It was going to be $299. And they were saying that because there's no Snapdragon. There's no battery. There's no built-in cooling solution. There's no, you know, all the extra stuff that comes with the fact, the Quest, the higher resolution and you know, the actual legitimate IPD, 2 actual screens in there and all of that stuff. And so you trim away all of that and you're thinking, well, yeah, they're trying to price this baby as low as humanly possible. And so everybody on the subreddit was saying $299, $299, $249, all this stuff. And so you start thinking that and you start thinking, you know what? Yeah, you kind of got a point there. And then when we get the $399, it seems like, oh my God, these guys are crazy. They came in way too high. But I think the problem is you kind of get caught up in the group think. You get caught up in the hive mentality. And I do believe that was part of it. And I will fully admit that I think I got a little bit caught up in that. And, you know, I started thinking, yeah, $299. And then when I saw the $399 thing, I was like, oh my God, that is kind of crazy. You know, $399. Okay. Why don't we go over to Road to VR real quick? And yeah, so, you know, we got Labo and we got this new Asgard's Wrath. Oh, you know what, guys? I have a video that I wanted to show you guys that I think is pretty cool. And you guys might have seen this already, but this is Microsoft's research, okay? Microsoft research. Now, unfortunately, the announcer for this video, not very exciting by any stretch of the imagination. Not a very good announcer, but this is some really interesting technology. So let's go back. I'm going to go over here to this, our standard scene here, and I'm going to grab this video, which I think is really interesting. I'm going to make it full screen for a minute, but I might bounce out of the full screen and bounce back over to where it is right now. But I want to show you guys that it's called VR Roamer. And it's Microsoft research, because we think Microsoft has no interest in VR, But Microsoft is figuring out some very interesting things. Like they're taking their time with VR, and I kind of like this. So I'm going to throw this on. This is VR Roamer generating on the fly VR experiences mixing with the real world. Okay, so I'm going to go full screen. You won't hear me. Let's check this out for a minute.
For her safety and tracking. To navigate a large virtual environment, the user need to use artificial locomotion techniques such as teleporting. V-Roamer is a proof-of-concept system that enables the user to navigate large virtual worlds using natural walking as its main locomotion technique. The system, equipped with a wearable depth camera, scans the environment in front of the user and visualizes him a playable virtual world. The virtual geometry may differ from the real environment and may differ between different games, yet it maintains the user safe from obstacles, both static and dynamically moving ones. The game narrative is represented as a graph, where nodes are locations that progress the story, and the player moves between them. For example, in a game inspired by the classic Rogue, a dungeon exploration game, the player may reach a room with a well and find a key hidden in the pail. This key may lead her to a throne room, where the key may be used to recover a treasure. The transition between story nodes are done through corridors that are constructed according to the available space in the user's environment. The user starts her journey at a room constructed around her. Doors in the walls may lead her to additional rooms as she explores the dungeon. The corridors may vary between different users depending on the physical geometry around them, and they can be designed to contain resources, weapons, and enemies. When the system detects a physical opening of required size, it will map a story node, such as the throne room. The story nodes are pre-offered and present similar narrative to all users. Dynamic obstacles, or obstacles detected at the last minute, may be represented by...
But yeah, so this is a video. Now, Microsoft Research, they're doing some crazy shit. Like, they really are. I've seen they have another video, too, where they're doing, like, AR stuff, and they're doing this stuff with backpacks. And yeah, in chat, someone's like, look at how slow this guy's walking. But isn't it kind of crazy, though? It's crazy to me that this technology, like they actually have this technology now. Like they're working on this technology now. Like in some ways, this is more advanced than like shit that Magic Leap is doing, you know, from a standpoint of being able to like live map shit. I mean, I've always thought about this from an AR standpoint. Like I thought this is our AR future where, you know, we're walking around with our AR goggles and it starts turning trees into different things and stuff like that. But look, this guy's walking around, yeah, walking very slowly, yes, but walking with a headset on, completely blind, with lots of obstacles all over the place, and it's mapping it all out, it's figuring it all out. Pretty incredible. I mean, this stuff is a long ways from like legitimate reality, and it's going to be a long time before you're walking through your local mall, you know, completely blinded with a headset, and you're playing Skyrim 7, you know, or whatever, you know, Elder Scrolls 20 in your mall, and everybody that's walking in the mall is like a zombie and you're slashing them or whatever. But it's just kind of cool that, like, I thought this would be like 5 years away, and they're already starting to work on this stuff. And Microsoft Research has done some interesting stuff. So I just thought that was kind of cool. And that this is the first day I've ever seen that video. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But let's go ahead and throw something else on the screen here. And I'll go ahead and get into what some people are talking about in chat. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that on the screen there. Man, it is hot in this room. I turn these lights on and I feel like I'm in a sauna. So I'm burning up right now, folks. Okay, let me turn this down a little bit. Okay, so Cyan VR says, I'm just going to curl in a ball and cry in a corner until a headset comes out that is worthy of my money. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, I'm not going to cry in a corner because I know that it's simply a matter of time. I mean, remember, Valve, you know, one of the news stories that we did get, remember, is that Valve, like somebody from Valve came out and said, look, we're not going to get any information about anything Valve VR related at GDC, but that it's coming in the relatively near future. Now, of course, if that's coming from a Valve employee, that means it's coming within the next 3 years. So within the next 3 years, we're going to get a Valve headset. So that's at least good news from that standpoint. The other thing that we have to remember, guys, is that I believe it's after PAX, I think, or right around that time, we've got, of course, the Vive Ecosystem Conference. And we still don't know what's going on with the Vive Cosmos. The Vive Cosmos could be 2160 by 2160 per eye. Maybe the Vive Cosmos is the magic sauce that we could have never imagined. You know, who knows? And then there's other headsets that could still possibly drop. So I wouldn't cry yet, Scion. Like, hold on, you know, chill out a little bit. I know it looks kind of bad, but, you know. The other thing I'm wondering, too, is are some of you guys thinking about, like, getting the Rift S? And for those of you that have an Oculus right now, the idea that you're just going to sell your Oculus, like for me, I've got 4 sensors. So I could sell 2 sensors. I could sell a USB Initech card. You know, I'm not going to get any money for that, but, you know, I could try to sell some sensors. I got some extra Oculus Touch controllers. I got a backup pair of Oculus Touch controllers I could sell. You know, so I could almost fund myself a brand new Rift S with very little money out of pocket. And that's something that some people might be able to do as well. But let me go ahead and look in chat here and see some of the more interesting comments that have popped out. Chris says, it's funny how Oculus pushed 90 hertz as the sweet spot for reducing motion sickness with the OG Rift, and now they have an 80 hertz screen. And yeah, you know what that goes back to? That simply goes back to the fact that they're basically slaves to these low specs. Like the low specs are really, really, really important for them, you know? And I'm not so sure that it's a bad idea. Remember, me and Sebastian, one of the things we came to the conclusion, this just isn't for us. The Rift S is not designed for us. It's designed for new people that are coming into the game brand new. And it is great. It's wonderful for new people. They don't have to worry about setup. The other thing that's awesome about the Rift S too, imagine you had a badass gaming laptop. You could take the Rift S with you with your laptop. You could take your Rift S to another room. You know, think about it. I've got 4 Oculus Rift sensors that are in this room. I got one over there, one right there. You can't see none of them because I got a black ceiling. And I've got 4 Oculus sensors all over the place, right? Well, if I'm going to play my Oculus Rift, I got to do it in this room. They're locked in, man. They're screwed in, and that's where they are. So if I'm playing the Oculus Rift, I'm playing it in this room. I'm not taking my Oculus Rift to anybody's house. You know, maybe I could go to like a cabin for the weekend, and I can conceivably take a Rift S with me with a good gaming laptop, because you don't, or even my freaking tower if I wanted to, because you don't have to worry about the sensors and all of that. So that is kind of cool. It's another little, you know, there are some little cool factors that we got to remember here concerning the Rift S. But I wanted to go back and check out, because I'm sure there were probably some really good comments a little bit earlier here. And Chris has a lot of comments. He says, I have no faith in the Halo design. I would never move around with it as much as with my Vive. Risk of dropping it and rock back and forth on my nose. Well, the Halo design is incredibly comfortable. I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about there in terms of like that. Virtually Actual says, okay, dual OLED to single LED downgrade, manual to software IPD downgrade, 3 sensor Rift tracking to Insight tracking without external sensor support down. That's not a downgrade. That is an upgrade. I think it's an upgrade. Audio strap sound solution garbage. You know, the audio thing is kind of weird. Because on the one hand, it almost seems like a slight bonus that it has built-in audio that is kind of crappy, but at least it has some basic built-in audio. Again, if you're taking it to someone's house and you don't want to bring headphones along with you, you want to keep it all kind of like you got a laptop and stuff, you don't need to bring headphones with you. That's kind of cool. The Rift S, having the built-in headphones is nice, but at the same time, one of the things I've always thought about with the Rift S too is like, the regular Rift, is should I pop off my headphones and use my Sennheisers? These are Sennheisers. They're better than the headphones on the Rift for sure, but I've always just used the Rift headphones because it's already there. It's already locked in. It already works kind of nicely. But yeah, it's kind of a downgrade. The no built-in headphones, kind of a downgrade. Okay, here's a comment from I Am Everyday Gamer. Just because I don't believe the Rift S is a complete disaster shouldn't make me a fanboy. I personally think it's a good improvement. Better comfort, pass-through. Yeah, pass-through plus, again, pass-through plus is awesome. It's an awesome idea. It's a great idea. I like pass-through plus. You could see if you're going to step on your cat and your dog. There's some nice things about pass-through plus. I think that's a great idea, actually. And who knows, there could be some added AR thing that could come along a little bit later in regards to that. And he's saying less God rays and less screen door. And I am an everyday gamer. One thing I'll say, look, I don't think that the Rift S is a complete disaster either. So am I an Oculus fanboy? I don't think I'm an Oculus fanboy, but I don't think the Rift S is a complete disaster either. The Rift S is actually a pretty decent product. It's not exactly what we wanted. It's not exactly what we wanted as like VR veterans that are looking for that upgrade. We want the upgrade where there's no major negatives that are coming along with it. And so it's not exactly what we wanted, but yeah, no, you're not a fanboy if you don't believe the Rift S is a complete disaster. The fanboys that I'm talking about, it's more of the attitude that they take, like they kind of act like you've got to be crazy if you ever thought it could be lower than $390. It's just some of the attitude that they have with some of these bread and butter Oculus fanboys. That I've seen on the subreddits over these last couple of days. Okay, Seo Manzini, and it's funny, Seo Manzini, I remember your little avatar, and I haven't seen you in the longest time. Have you not watched this show in like a million years, or are you just kind of a silent participant? Because I haven't seen this guy in a long time, but I do remember his avatar, Seo Manzini. He says, there are way more haters about right now. I rarely see people pointing out the positive aspects of the Rift S. Yeah, there's a lot of haters. There's definitely a lot of haters. Great Tantrum says, I agree that Rift S should have been 1440 by 1600p RGB matrix OLED display. If it had, 90 hertz as well, right? 90 hertz as well. If it had, then the Oculus would not have received the bad feedback. But, I think they were so incredibly focused on those minimum specs. The minimum specs were just so hypercritical to them. It was really major critical. Okay, let me throw on a different trailer because I've had this thing running for a long time. Let me just grab some rando trailer. We'll go ahead and just put on a trailer mix and do that. Okay, so Chris says the Quest looking much better on paper than the Rift S is the problem, and therefore also the price. Well, yeah, the comparison, it's hard to, it would be so awesome to have somebody like Nate Mitchell come on to VR Roundtable and let me and Steve and Gary and Chris and let us all throw some questions at Nate Mitchell. Because these are the kind of questions that we would throw at him. We would say, look, so you guys have a Quest. It's $399. You have this Quest, $399. You have the Rift S, $399. They're very similar in a lot of ways. They have pretty much the same tracking and the same controllers. Now, one of them has a battery, a Snapdragon, and all this other stuff. One of them doesn't. Explain to me why there isn't more of a discount. But, one of the comments I wanted to get from yesterday's show and wasn't able to get in time, although we can go to the comments after the fact. We can check that out real quick. But one of the comments that a lot of people were making is you can't compare the price of the Quest and the price of the Rift S head to head. The comparison is not, it's an invalid comparison. And the reason it's an invalid comparison is because the Quest is subsidized, okay? The Quest costs more than $399. Oculus is taking a loss on every single Oculus Quest that they sell because they know that if you buy an Oculus Quest, you are now in a locked, you're in a walled garden, baby. You are in a walled garden and the walls go way the hell up. It's build that wall. It's MAGA country, baby, because they've got a walled garden like none other. And it's subsidized, so they can take a loss on the Oculus Quest. It's not an apples to apples comparison. It really isn't. And then the other factor that we have to remember, I know I went crazy and said, hey, this is a price increase. This doesn't make sense. You're raising the price $50. When have you ever raised the price of a product? But what I completely didn't think about the fact that they were clearing the decks. They were clearing the decks. They were making room for Rift S. They were clearing out of inventory. It was a clearance sale. It was a $50 off clearance sale. So we can't really think about the $349.99 price of the regular Rift right now and think that the price is being raised. They were clearing the decks, and it's not a valid comparison because somebody could buy an Oculus Rift S and never spend a single dollar in the Oculus store. They could go directly to Steam and they could go to itch.io and just play freaking free demos and shit. So, main fan says Trump funded the Quest. But basically, what I'm trying to say here is somebody could buy a Rift S and never spend a dollar in the Oculus ecosystem. And they know that. There's no subsidy there. Okay, so they got to make their money. They got to at least break even on the Rift S. And I'm sure they're making a little bit of a profit on the Rift S. And you know what? I don't know that I can begrudge them because they have no guarantee that you're going to spend any money in their store. And so you could go Steam. You could go to Steam and you can bypass Oculus altogether and they don't get any money. So I think I kind of understand how the price is working here. I mean, I think we need to consider that, right? We need to consider that as a possibility. Okay, so what we can do now, let's go back to our Webby browser here. And why don't we go ahead and I can take a look at a few comments on yesterday's episode. Okay, so this is yesterday's episode. And let me see if I can find some interesting comments. Okay, so here's Josh Tech Bites. Wait, you guys are seeing this, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, so Josh Tech Bites, this was 19 hours ago. He says, regarding the Lenovo partnership, I heard that Lenovo stopped producing their original Windows mixed reality headsets recently. I think they realized that by slapping 3 extra cameras on it and licensing the Oculus logo, they could charge twice the price and then split the profit. It's an interesting little burn there. It's an interesting little burn. But you know what we have to remember, guys? This is not Windows mixed reality tracking with 3 extra cameras. This is Insight tracking. And this is legit Insight tracking. And it's Insight with the 5th camera. And let me tell you, MRTV, I don't know if he's still in chat, but we both tried this at GDC, and the tracking was flawless. The tracking was great. I really was super impressed with the tracking. It was really awesome. So we got to remember that. Okay, Zarundu says, as you are talking about multiple HMDs in the same room at the 38-minute mark, how does this work? Won't the first HMD be confused by the controllers for the second HMD and vice versa? Okay, so one of the really cool things, like there are some cool things that are being absolutely buried, just like freaking Final Assault is being buried. I still can't believe that the entire VR gaming community is not ranting and raving about Final Assault. It is one of the 5 best VR games of the year 2019, bar none, and nobody is talking about Final Assault. So that's an example of how things are being buried right now. And one of the things that's being buried is like cross-buy, okay? Cross-buy and cross-play. Like, it's pretty cool that this is possible. Okay, so I could have a Rift or a Rift S and be in this room, and my son could be over there in the corner with the with the Oculus Quest, and we could play at the same time. And the way it's going to work is your controllers get paired to the headset. So his controllers are going to be paired to the Quest. My controllers are going to be paired to the Rift S or the regular Rift or whatever, right? Now, one of the things that will get a little bit tricky is the controllers are absolutely identical. So if you have both of them, you might accidentally forget which controller goes to which. You might need to put a little sticker on your controllers if you're rocking both a Rift S and a Quest. So that's kind of interesting how that'll work. Okay, let's see. Paolo Triani says, I called Acer as their partner, but it was Lenovo. I just thought when I first saw it that this isn't Oculus looking at all, and it looks outsourced. Didn't Lenovo have that spine thing a year or two ago and Facebook last year? Yeah, I don't know about all of that. But yeah, it's a Lenovo shell. There's no hiding it. This was some kind of last minute deal. Like, I don't know how this whole thing came together, but you see Blake Jake Harris down here, History of the Future. He needs to write another book about what the hell has happened over the last 8 months. He needs to get some inside sources and write another book about what has happened over. He needs to go to freaking, what's his name? Brendan Arebe. Unfortunately, Brendan Arebe probably got a golden parachute, and he probably signed all kinds of contracts where he can't say diddly squat about anything. So you're probably going to never get anything out of Brendan Arebe about what's real. Because Brendan Arebe, you got to know that Brendan Arebe is kicking back somewhere, sipping on a Mai Tai, and just laughing his ass off at all this fervor that is going on and the pitchforks and everything that is going on out there. Brendan Arebe's got to be laughing his ass off. Okay, Melon Rapp, 21 hours ago, he says Sports Scramble will actually have baseball and bowling. Apparently this was on the Tested Rift S podcast, which I haven't even had a chance to sit down and watch that whole thing yet. And I replied to this comment and I said, this is both wonderful news and horrible news. It's wonderful news because it will be closer and closer to Wii Sports, and that's awesome. We need Wii Sports. We don't have a Wii Sports in VR. That is incredible awesome. But it's horrible news because if that's true, then they have a suitable pack-in. We might not even get Dead and Buried 2 packed in along with it. I really thought it was going to be Sports Scramble and Dead and Buried 2. But it might just be Sports Scramble by its lonesome if it has all these extra sports in it. Which means no Beat Saber. No Beat Saber, brah. And I really, really, really feel that Beat Saber should be in there. And somebody commented, it might actually be here where somebody said, oh yeah, this guy right here. Okay, FOCH41. He says, throw Beat Saber in the box for free? Laugh my ass off. Get the F out of here, bro. Like he's saying, are you freaking out of your mind, man? Beat Saber in the box for free? Get the F out of here, bro. That's basically what he's saying. And I understand his point. But at the same time, if you want to absolutely freaking guarantee that the Oculus Quest is going to start off with a beautiful launch, and it is going to have an established user base, and it is going to be the talk of the town, and it's going to have incredible momentum, you throw Beat Saber in the box. But like me and Sebastian were saying, they could do that November. They could have a special Beat Saber box that arrives in late October for the fourth quarter. And that could be already planned. That could be already locked in. So Beat Saber gets to sell their game as an individual game for like 5 or 6 months to all the brand new Quest owners. And then it goes in the box, and it's a special Beat Saber box for late October. Nostradamus Jr. Nostradamus Jr., baby. Okay, so Seo Manzini, here's my boy again. Like, I saw this guy, like, I don't know if that's his face or whatever, but I remember seeing this guy from a long time ago. And I'm kind of curious if he, like, watched a few of my shows, like, freaking years ago, disappeared into the mist, and has somehow discovered me again. Maybe because I was on MRTV and he watches MRTV, and he's like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. So here's what he says. Let's not forget how sharp the Go looks. Besides the lower headline number, it still boasts more subpixels than the Vive Pro. Yeah, you know, the Go has a nice sharp look. It does. And like the God rays and all of that. And Steve Bishop, well, no, I don't want to ruin our show for VR Roundtable, because Steve Bishop has his own conspiracy theory that we're going to get into. So that'll be interesting. We'll wait for that. Nippy Kangaroo 10 hours ago says, I believe that the final decision regarding the headset itself is all Lenovo, not just casing and strap, and are using the new Oculus tracking and controllers as well as using Oculus brand name to sell more, a bit like HTC partnership with Valve. I don't know. I mean, the Lenovo thing is so freaking weird. It really is. Like, Blake J. Harris, where are you when we need you? Blake J. Harris, figure this thing out, man. Get over to freaking Menlo Park and figure this thing out. You know, freaking do it, because we got to figure out what the hell is going on. Okay, and Strong Pillow says, oh snap, VR Roundtable is going to be entertaining this weekend. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to like what Steve and Gary and Chris, like kind of their original thoughts and everything. I think that's going to be a good show. I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. Oh, here's an interesting idea. Kintron Omega 2 says, wow, those people in Oculus shirts sound like people paid by Oculus to cause a hype. It would be nice if Oculus gave us a bundle deal for both systems for $600. That's actually a great idea. That is actually a great idea, but I would say $700. Oculus, are you watching this right now? That is a brilliant idea. A combined bundle for $699 US, and you get a special bonus. You get the Climb on the Quest for free, and you get Killing Floor Incursion for free thrown in for your Oculus Rift or something. I don't know, some crazy shit like that, right? Yeah, that's a freaking awesome idea, and there's a lot of people that would do it. There seriously is a lot of people that would do it. That's actually a pretty cool idea. I like that. Okay, my virtual diary says Rift S because Oculus wants to get new people in PC VR. Oculus already has us and knows we will be there for a Rift 2. If there ever is a Rift 2. Oculus needs more people before launching the Rift 2 because Rift 2 tech will be awesome. Yeah, I worry that like the Rift 2 is the Quest 2, you know, because I mean, once they get their walled garden, see, here's one of the downsides. One of the downsides to the Quest actually becoming a major hit is that once they got that walled garden up and running and everything is working very well, they might start to get even more disinterested in PC VR. I could literally see that happening where they start to get more and more disinterested in PC VR as the Oculus Quest has more and more success and as their walled garden just starts making a ton of cash for them because all the money is just going straight into that. Okay, Strong Pillow 9 hours ago says, I'd rather have Sport Scramble than Beat Saber, to be honest. They will have game demos, though. Good idea. Yeah, that's true. Journey of the Gods devs already confirmed it. This is a device for the average consumer, not a pro VR user wanting pro VR experiences. Also, it's got tennis, baseball, and bowling, by the way. Should probably do the research before making these statements. Okay, Strong Pello, you lost me there, bro. No, let me tell you, Strong Pello, look, I am freaking scrambling. I worked 8 hours today, but I still came home and I freaking ate a little bit of food, and then I immediately started working on trying to prepare stuff for this show and grabbing comments and stuff. I'm busting my ass, bro. And I've been traveling to San Francisco, back to San Francisco, staying in a crappy ass hotel. I don't have time to read and see everything. If I was at home, honestly, if I was back here at home, I would be able to see all the stuff that you guys are seeing a lot better than being at GDC, because it's just so goddamn chaotic. GDC, there's a million things that are blasting you simultaneously. You're being pulled in a million different directions. Give me a break, bro. Give me a break. This week has been a hard week for me. So, that's my excuse anyway. That'll be my excuse. PSVR Mang, the game cat, says, I don't think we'll have crapware on the Quest. Oculus released a statement about meeting certain standards for Quest game development. This was towards my comment that looking at the Quest, I think that high quality developers that know what the F they're doing, internal Oculus developers and good studios like, Turtle Rock and Beat Games and developers that know what the F they're doing, they're going to make really good Quest games, and the Quest games are going to look pretty good, okay? But the one thing I said is that when we start getting the crappy games, when we start getting crappy developers just throwing shit at the wall, that's when we're going to have a problem. And he's saying, but Oculus is not going to allow that to happen. They're not going to allow that to happen for the first year. Okay, everybody starts off this way. Sony started off this way with PlayStation 4. Xbox starts it off that way. You don't allow the crap right away. But a year later, you let everybody and their mom throw something on there, and you just don't give a damn because you want the money. So, you know what? Yeah, they will allow crap on there in about a year. They're gonna tailor it. They're gonna have they're gonna take their time and make sure they have good experiences for that first year. But like a year or two later, we are going to get a lot of crap on the Quest. That's another Nostradamus special for you. Rob M says, surely it wouldn't cost Oculus much to have Beat Saber for free with the Quest. If they've only sold 1 million copies on all platforms, then they should be happy with a few million from Oculus. Only sold 1 million? That's actually embarrassing in a way that you're saying only sold 1 million, because there's only maybe 2 or 3 VR games in the history of VR gaming that have sold 1 million copies. You're talking Job Simulator, Skyrim VR, maybe Arizona Sunshine on a good day. There's like 4 or 5, maybe 6 games that have hit 1 million. But no, I honestly believe that Oculus could go to Beat Games and throw a lot of money their way, and I think it would all work out, But I kind of like my late October, or very, very early November, the special Beat Saber bundle for $3.99 with, the box is all Beat Saber with the Quest. I think that, and it gives Beat Games a chance to sell it as an individual game for a lot of months prior to that. I actually think that's a beautiful idea. I'm so glad I came up with it. Oculus, if you want to hire me, it's info@vrgamerankings.com. If you want to hire Nostradamus to see into the future for you and help you out, I'm available for you. But anyway, I got to get out of here, guys, because you know what? It's Friday night and I'm starving. I had a little bit of food earlier, but I didn't really have a full-on dinner. So I'm starving and I got to bounce. But yeah, this was fun. And the one thing I will say, let me go ahead and get my little outro logo on the screen here. Where are we? Well, that's my outro logo, but that's going to switch over to some other little samples. So the one thing I did want to say, guys, and Show Game says Beat Saber bundle will happen. He is agreeing with Nostradamus Jr. He is a smart man or woman, possibly, who knows. But what I will tell you guys is our show tomorrow is at 12 noon. And then on Sunday, do this. Go to VR Roundtable. Like, I know we got a lot of new people that have been hitting my show in the last couple of days because maybe you discovered me from like MRTV and all that. I'm like the best kept secret in VR gaming. No, I shouldn't say that. That sounds hell of arrogant. But if you've never, there's another best kept secret. It's called VR Roundtable. Okay. And this Sunday, we should probably start at like 8:45 this Sunday to give us a little bit more room or something. But I don't know. I think we're starting at like 9 a.m. But definitely check out VR Roundtable this Sunday. And then Sunday Fun Day, my Sunday Fun Day show will follow that 15 minutes later on Sunday. So there's still going to be a lot more VR 365 coming this weekend. So look forward to that. And then I'm going to keep banging it out all next week as well. And, that's why we call it VR 365, because it's VR gaming news and discussion 365 days a year. Okay, but that's going to do it. I will see everybody tomorrow around noonish Pacific time. Have a wonderful Friday evening. I know it is late as hell for some of you. I can't believe some of you guys, like some people actually tuned in to my show from like the UK yesterday at like 2 a.m. in the morning and shit. No way in hell, man. You couldn't pay me to watch somebody's podcast at 2 a.m. in the morning, but that is just awesome that somebody would do that. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow around noon Pacific. Have a wonderful Friday and Saturday. Take it easy. Have a good one. Later.